Namaste nerds, this is Navanad, Budget Pubstomper. Today we're going to be talking about the Falcon Airship Restored. I've kind of lost my voice, so bear with me. There might be some throat clearing and some gravelly sounding speech today. Okay, so the Falcon Airship Restored is, of course, one of these legendary vehicles that up until recently, we've not been able to use as our commander, but now everybody's going to be looking to explore and exploit. I've looked through the entire list. There's not that many legendary vehicles. There's maybe 20. And I've found maybe 4 that I think are interesting, but I think the Falcon Airship Restored is my new favorite. So at first I looked at this and I thought, yeah, it would be very good to have a Necromancy in the command zone, but you're going to be pigeonholed into mono black, and everybody knows mono black does kind of struggle. There are difficulties in playing mono black. And then I didn't think much of it outside of that, and I moved on to whatever I did last time, the Jackdaw. And there's some other ones that I think are interesting. Well, then it kind of occurred to me, the reason that mono black tends to struggle is exactly because it's difficult to win the game. Like, you basically have to use some sort of a reanimation combo to effectively win the game in budget competitive if you're playing a mono black deck. Now, there's some other things you can do, but mostly just if you're looking for a generic good way to win the game in mono black, especially on a $100 budget, you end up using the same kind of 2 or 3 reanimation lines over and over. And so then it dawned on me, well, if I'm playing the commander because it's a reanimation effect in the command zone, probably I ought not be too concerned about the fact that we have to win the game with a reanimation combo, right? So yeah, I mean, outside of that, mono black's pretty good. We've got all kinds of creature removal. We've got great ramp. We've got like all the best. I say it's got good ramp, but it actually you struggle in mono color because you don't get to play all the mana rocks that you might want to play. But it's got rituals. I guess that's what it's actually got. Now, I ended up going back and forth, but eventually deciding not to play Song of the Damned. I've got it in the considering board, but only because the deck just ends up being a little bit too fast for Song of the Damned. Now, this deck can win on turn 3, and it's not Fairy Tale Magic Christmas Land. It really can win on turn 3. But the normal typical cadence of the game when you play with the Falcon Airship Restored is you're going to be presenting a win on turn 4 very consistently. Sometimes turn 4, sometimes turn 3, sometimes turn 5, but very often you're looking to win the game on turn 4. That is going to be your general cadence with this deck. It's going to be something like this. You're going to go turn 1, Blood-Soaked Champion, for instance. Why am I playing this kind of not the highest card quality card in the deck? Well, we'll get to that. It just works well with a lot of different things that the deck does. So we're playing a couple cards like Blood-Soaked Champion. So maybe we go turn 1, 2-power guy anyway. Blood-Soaked Champion, Gravecrawler, Forsaken Miner. We go turn 1, 2-1, right? So turn 1 champion, and then we're going to go turn 2 Entomb effect. Maybe we use we can even use this thing. This thing was like made for this deck, for the Falcon, the budget competitive Falcon. Cynical Loner will not only have enough power to crew your vehicle, but you'll also get to entomb a creature when you do. So that's like perfect, right? But let's say we went turn 1, Blood-Soaked Champion. Turn 2, we go Entomb or Unmarked Grave, and we put the Hoarding Broodlord in the graveyard. And then we go turn 3, play our commander. I don't know if I read the commander. I think I did, but it says it's a 3-mana 4/3 flying. Whenever the Falcon deals combat damage to a player, you may sacrifice it. When you do, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. And then it's got this 5 mana, return this card from the graveyard to the battlefield tapped. That I don't want to say it doesn't matter. It's not going to matter until your commander's been killed twice, though. So the first time, if you're trying to do the typical cadence, you're trying to win the game on turn 4. One of your opponents would rather not lose the game on turn 4, so they murder the Falcon airship. You can put it in the command zone, or you can put it in the graveyard. It doesn't make any difference. But the second time somebody 86s your commander, then you can put it in the graveyard, and that way you can, instead of having to pay 7 mana for your commander, you can pay 5 mana for your commander. So you're able to cheat command tax on any recasting of your commander beyond the second. So that's kind of, it's not useless. It's useful. It could come up. You're probably having a bad day if it does come up, but it could come up and probably will come up. But mainly, this is 3 mana. It's 2 to crew it. It's got crew 2. It's a 4/3. Hit somebody with it, sacrifice it, reanimate a thing. In our case, it's going to be Hoarding Broodlord. So, turn 1, Bloodsoaked Champion. Turn 2, Unmarked Grave. Turn 3, Commander. Turn 4, we tap the Bloodstained Champion to crew this vehicle, and we swing. We hit somebody, we sacrifice the airship, and we reanimate Hoarding Broodlord. Now, if we've made all of our land drops at this point, we've got 4 untapped swamps when we do this, which is plenty to win the game on the spot. This is going to convert into a win. You're going to reanimate the Hoarding Broodlord. When the Hoarding Broodlord ETBs, it says you're able to search your library for a card, exile it face down, and for as long as it remains exiled, you can play it. And Hoarding Broodlord says that spells you have in exile have Convoke. So you can Convoke cast it, which matters. That's kind of important, actually. So we, on turn 4, most of the time, sacrifice the Falcon, we get the Hoarding Broodlord in play. Hoarding Broodlord goes and fetches us Sawnhalf. Sawnhalf for 3 mana, and actually it's only going to be 2 mana because all of your exiled things have Convoke. Sawnhalf is exiled, so you will Convoke cast it. So you'll tap the Hoarding Broodlord and 2 of your 4 swamps to destroy target creature. In this case, you're going to destroy the Hoarding Broodlord, and then you're going to make 2 copies of the Hoarding Broodlord. They'll be half power and toughness, but we don't care about that. What we care about is we're converting this 1 ETB tutor into 2 ETB tutors. So what we're going to find with our ETB tutors, and this is where we're going to diverge a little bit from what you may have seen other decks do, or some of my own decks. You've definitely seen my own decks do if you've been watching the channel. This is where it diverges. One of our sawed in half tokens, one of our Hoarding Broodlord tokens is going to search out, not sacrifice, not yet. No, we're gonna get for 1 token, we're gonna get Buried Alive, and the other Hoarding Broodlord token is gonna find some sort of an animate effect. If you still have, let's see. Well, in the exact example I'm telling you, we'll get Entomb with 1. And we'll get Buried Alive with the other. So now we've got 2 Hoarding Broodlord tokens in play. And we have 2 untapped lands. And we've got Entomb underneath, or exiled by one of the tokens. We've got Buried Alive exiled by the other token. We will tap our 2 untapped mana and one of our 2 tokens to cast the Buried Alive. And then we'll still have 1 untapped token in order to cast the Entomb. You can Convoke, cast, Entomb. Am I saying Entomb this whole time? Everything I just said, just replace it. Instead of Entomb, replace the word Entomb with Reanimate. Here, this is the thing. Okay, so we turn 1. I'm going to go over this one more time. Turn 1, Bloodsoaked Champion. Turn 2, Unmarked Grave, putting the Hoarding Broodlord in the graveyard. Turn 3, we cast our commander. Turn 4, we use the Bloodsoaked Champion to crew the Falcon Airship Restored. We attack with the Falcon Airship Restored. we sacrifice it, we put the Hoarding Broodlord in play. Hoarding Broodlord searches up Saw in Half. We can vote cast the Saw in Half, blowing up our Hoarding Broodlord to make 2 Hoarding Broodlords. One of them is going to find Reanimate, and the other one is going to find Buried Alive. Then we're going to tap the 2 mana, the 2 lands that we have untapped, and one of our tokens to cast the Buried Alive. And then once we get our Buried Alive pile, we'll be able to use the other token to convoke cast Reanimate. The 3 creatures that we're going to find with our Buried Alive are going to be Scourge Familiar, Asmodeus the Archfiend, and Necrotic Ooze. So those cards are all going to go into the graveyard. Then we're going to reanimate Necrotic Ooze. Necrotic Ooze says as long as it's on the battlefield, it's got all activated abilities of all creatures in all graveyards. We only care about ours. Asmodeus, the activated ability is just very simple. Black, 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 draw 7 cards. That's the only thing we care about with Asmodeus is the activated ability. Black, 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 draw 7 cards. Scourge Familiar has an activated ability too. It says discard a card to add 1 black mana to your mana pool. So, for 3 mana, we can draw 7 cards. And then once we have 7 cards in our hand, we can discard 3 of those cards to activate Asmodeus ability and draw 7 cards. And so with the Necrotic Ooze in play, and the Asmodeus and the Scourge Familiar in your graveyard, you are able to draw 7 cards, discard 3 cards. Draw 7 cards, discard 3 cards. Draw 7 cards, discard 3 cards. You're going to do that until you've effectively drawn your entire deck and you've got a tremendous amount of black mana floating. So you've got a ton of black mana. You've drawn all of the cards you need to draw, and you're going to win the game. You can assemble one of the other combos, but the kind of clean, like textbook way to win the game with this loop is with this one ittle bitty dead card, Ebony Charm. We are going to cast Ebony Charm for 1 black mana. It says choose 1, target opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life, or remove up to 3 cards in any player's graveyard from the game, or target creature can't be blocked this turn except by artifact or black creatures. Now, those modes actually can be useful in this deck. If all of your opponents have flying creatures, you can get your commander through by casting the weird mode on Ebony Charm. But the mode that we're actually playing the card for, believe it or not, is the target opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. We're going to cast that on one opponent, and then with I don't know, so let's just say with 30 mana floating, we're going to cast the Ebony Charm on one opponent, and we're going to cast Elixir of Immortality with one of our 40 mana. We're going to pay 2 of our 40 mana, we're going to gain 5 life, and we're going to shuffle the Elixir of Immortality and all the other cards in our graveyard back into our deck. Now, before we do that, we're going to put a number of activations on the stack. Let's say we put, let's say we put 3, or we'll say we put 4 Asmodeus activations on the stack. Then we shuffle all of our cards back into our library, and then we allow the draw triggers to resolve, and we draw however many cards I just said. Say we have 4 triggers, we draw 7 cards 4 times. But we have to have enough mana, and we have to make sure that we left the proper cards in our hand that are going to allow us to end up with Scourge Familiar and Asmodeus in our graveyard after we do the shuffle. Now, this is not up to dumb luck. It's not something that's going to happen some amount of the time. It's not a stormy kind of a combo turn. This absolutely is a deterministic loop. You just have to be careful not to fuck it up. It's an easy loop to screw up. But just for simplicity's sake, when you draw all of the cards in your deck, you leave a card or 2 behind. Just make sure that you've got unmarked grave and doesn't matter, any other unmarked. So let's just, for simplicity's sake, we'll make sure that we leave Buried Alive in our hand. Or it can be Unmarked Grave and Entomb. Or it can be, well, you can actually just cast the Scourged Familiar. That you can put in play. You can just pay your 5 mana to cast that, or just make sure you've got mana to cast it. Put the Scourged Familiar in play when you do the first loop. So just a tutor to find the Scourged Familiar, because remember, you're going to be shuffling all of your graveyard back into your library. So the way you've been going about this loop is you've been using the Necrotic Ooze to use the Asmodeus and Scourged Familiar abilities, but the only reason you're able to use them is because they're in your graveyard. Once you do the thing with Elixir of Immortality, you're not going to have those creatures in your graveyard anymore. So you've got to make sure that you've got a way to put them back in your graveyard after you shuffle all of your cards into your graveyard again, which will not be, which you absolutely can do. It doesn't require any luck. You don't have to not get unlucky. You just have to not screw up. You just have to make sure that you do it. I'd recommend probably when you go through this loop the first time and you end up putting draw triggers on the stack and you draw a bunch of cards, just make sure you've got a tutor. Just make sure you've got a tutor so that you can find Buried Alive. Or make sure if you have 2 tutors, find Buried Alive and Scourged Familiar and cast the Scourged Familiar. With the Scourged Familiar in play and the Asmodeus in your graveyard, the Necrotic Ooze will still give you the Asmodeus effect, and the Scourged Familiar in play will still give you the Scourged Familiar effect. So that's super complicated sounding. I don't know that, it's just it's a little bit complicated. And here we're using 2 sort of complex lines, and we're mixing them together to get one dependable, reliable win line for this specific commander. So that's kind of what the deck is designed to do. Once you get back in this spot, you're going to draw your deck again, you're going to make a billion mana again, and you're going to find your, just while you're drawing cards, drawing 7, discarding 3, drawing 7, discarding 3, eventually you will find the Ebony Charm. You will cast it, you will ping somebody for 1 damage, you will gain 1 life, and you will do it again. And again, and again, and again, and again. And you just have to make sure, at some point you'll probably just want to put the Scourged Familiar in play. But you do need to make sure the Asmodeus stays in your graveyard. You need to keep putting Asmodeus in your graveyard. So even after you've discarded 5 cards to add 5 mana to play your Scourged Familiar, so now that's in play, and your Necrotic Ooze, it stayed in play ever since the beginning of the loop. Necrotic Ooze has always been in play. We're going to put, probably for simplicity's sake, put the Scourged Familiar in play. But you do have to put the Asmodeus in your graveyard. It can't come out and play. You can't animate it. None of that's going to work. Because Asmodeus, if you have it in play, it gives you this negative thing, binding contract. It says if you would draw a card, exile the card. It says if you would draw a card, exile the top card of your library face down instead. Well, we can't have that. Right, we just need the pay 3, draw 7. And we only get that by putting it in the graveyard and using our Necrotic Ooze to borrow its activated ability. We don't want the whole card. We just want to borrow the pay 3 to draw 7. So that's what the deck does, guys. Everything else is like, just making it run smoothly. We've got kind of a... We're like tons and tons of entombs and tutors, lots and lots of removal, and lots of guys that have 2 power. There is another way that we can finish the game if you're not so super interested in pinging your opponents to death 1 little shot at a time. You can Buried Alive and put. There's a couple versions of this, but we could say put Forsaken Miner in the graveyard and Warren Soul Trader in the graveyard. I might have elected to skip the Warren Soul Trader in this deck. No, there he is. Okay, we put the Warren. That's good because it gives us an easier way to win. That's easier to explain. We don't have to risk screwing up if somebody says to play it out. We can just put So one thing you can do is you can just put Warren Soul Trader in play with a Forsaken Miner either in the graveyard or in play, and either a Blood Artist or Vengeful Blood Witch in play or in the graveyard. So this is another kind of backup pile that you can use comboing off with this deck some of the time. Some of the time you'll use this. Sometimes you'll use it post combo just to make things simple. You'll just put your Warren Soul Trader in play with your Vengeful Blood Witch and your Forsaken Miner. The Forsaken Miner you sacrifice to the Warren Soul Trader. That will give you a ping trigger. Your Vengeful Blood Witch or Blood Artist will ping one opponent. Also, you're going to gain a treasure. And since you have committed a crime, you can use that treasure for 1 black mana to cast to play the Forsaken Miner from your graveyard. You put it back into play. You sacrifice it again with the Warren Soul Trader, which pings because of the Blood Artist effect, which also is committing a crime, and it gives you a treasure. So let me just clean this up a bit. Warren Soul Trader in play. Vengeful Blood Witch in play. Forsaken Miner, we'll start this off in play too. It could be in the graveyard, doesn't matter as long as you've got any other creature to sacrifice. But let's just say we've got Forsaken Miner in play, Vengeful Blood Witch in play, Warren Soul Trader in play. Warren Soul Trader says that if we sacrifice a creature like Forsaken Miner, we will get a treasure token. Now it's going to ping us for 1 damage, but the Blood Artist effect, like Vengeful Blood Witch or Blood Artist, says whenever a creature dies, target opponent, so that is committing a crime, we've targeted opponent, loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. And so the 1 life that you're paying when you make the treasure token with the Warren Soul Trader by sacrificing the Forsaken Miner is going to be offset. So yes, you're losing 1 life to the Warren Soul Trader, but you're gaining 1 life with the Blood Artist effect. So you're sacrificing Forsaken Miner, you're making a treasure, you're taking a damage, you're pinging an opponent, and you're gaining a life. So the taking a damage and gaining a life, they +1, -1, they cancel out, and you're left with just a situation where you're playing and replaying Forsaken Miner out of the graveyard over and over, while you're murdering the table with your Vengeful Blood Witch or your Blood Artist. Either one. We've got both in the deck. So another way you could get to that is if you happen to have a Victimize. This is kind of a neat line. Okay, so you're just playing the deck and maybe things don't go perfectly smoothly. You're normal, just try to win the game the way that I explained initially goes to shit somehow. Somebody shoots down your flagship or whatever. But you do manage to find a Buried Alive. You can cast your Buried Alive and you can put Warren Soul Trader and Forsaken Miner. And I've been saying Vengeful Blood Witch, but it can be either the Blood Witch or the Blood Artist. So let's say we go Blood Artist, Forsaken Miner, and Warren Soul Trader. All go into the Buried Alive pile. Now, that can be Blood Artist, Forsaken Miner, Warren Soul Trader, or it has to be the Warren Soul Trader. For this combo line, you need the Soul Trader. But you can either use the Blood Artist or the Vengeful Blood Witch, and you can either use the Forsaken Miner or the Gravecrawler. Either one is going to do the same. Gravecrawler says that you can cast the Gravecrawler from your graveyard as long as you control a zombie. The Warren Soul Trader is a zombie. So you can use the Gravecrawler in the loop that we've been talking about, and you can use the Blood Artist as your source of damage and committing crimes instead of the Vengeful Blood Witch. So you cast your Buried Alive, you put Warren Soul Trader, Gravecrawler, Blood Artist. You put those 3 creatures in the graveyard. Then, if you can get a Victimize off, I don't remember if it's a sorcery or an instant. It is a sorcery. Okay, this says choose 2 target creature cards in your graveyard. Sacrifice a creature. If you do, return the chosen cards to the battlefield tapped. So now you've cast your Buried Alive, and you've buried your, whatever I just said, your War Infiltrator for sure, Blood Artist, and Gravecrawler. Those 3 have gone into the graveyard. Now you have a Victimize, and you're going to cast your Victimize, sacrificing a creature, let's say a Blood-Soaked Champion, for instance. That's good sack fodder because we can get that guy back. There's lots of good sack fodder in the deck for reasons like this. Not just this. We've got lots of things that we did some good deck building here. We've got layering and synergies all over the place. But in this situation, we've got Blood-Soaked Champion in play. We cast our Buried Alive. We put War Infiltrator, Gravecrawler, Blood Artist in the graveyard with the Buried Alive. Then we are going to cast the Victimize, sacrificing the Blood-Soaked Champion. And that is going to put 2 creatures into play. The 2 creatures that are going to go into play are going to be the War Infiltrator and the Blood Artist. Then all you have to do is sack any creature. It can be your commander. If you crew your commander, then sack it. Or it can be maybe you've attacked, so you can pay 2 mana to return this guy back to your battlefield. You can sacrifice this guy to get the ball rolling. As long as you have any creature to sacrifice to get the ball rolling, if you put your War Infiltrator and your Gravecrawler in play, and your Blood Artist in play, then once you sacrifice your Blood-Soaked Champion, for instance, then you make a treasure, you commit a crime, you have a mana, so then you can cast your Gravecrawler or your Forsaken Miner, and it'll start the loop up. Or if you've just got your commander in play and it's a creature, or you crew it and turn it into a creature, you can sacrifice your commander to start off the loop, as long as you have War Infiltrator in play and Blood Artist in play. And the Forsaken Miner can still be in your graveyard or the Gravecrawler. You sacrifice a creature, you get a ping, you make a mana, and you do it over and over with the Forsaken Miner or the Gravecrawler, over and over and over, murdering the table. Committing crimes all over the place. And this deck is committing crimes all over the place, and it's sacrificing creatures all over the place. That's just some of the stuff we're doing in the deck. So Midnight Reaper is drawing you cards while you're doing it. Shambling Gas is there to be a really good thing to sacrifice. The Servant of the Stinger is a creature that you can sacrifice to tutor. So you're sacrificing your Stinger, you're drawing a card off of your Midnight Reaper, you're getting a trigger off of your Blood Artist. Because you're triggering the Blood Artist and you're pinging somebody, that's committing a crime. Karavek the Punisher sees that you committed a crime, and now you can exile a black card from your graveyard and copy it and cast it. So there's all kinds of synergies in the deck that make the deck run really smoothly. We're also just about maxed out on rituals, so even though the traditional rate is going to be for you to try to go off on turn 4, very often you don't need to wait until turn 4. We've got 31 swamps in the deck, and we've got Bubbling Muck. So if we're on turn 4, and say even turn 3, let's say we went turn 2 Arcane Signet, and now turn 3 comes along, we've got 3 swamps in play. We can tap the Arcane Signet to cast a Bubbling Muck. Bubbling Muck says all of our all of our swamps make 2 mana instead of 1 mana when you tap them until end of turn. So now on turn 3, with your Bubbling Muck, you can make 6 mana, which is well enough to win the game. We've got cards like Inquisition of Kozilek. We've got Collective Brutality, Cabal Therapy. We're able to duress, make sure that we're doing pinpoint strikes on our opponents who might have interaction. And if they do have interaction, we get rid of the interaction. If they've got too much interaction, then we know not to try to go off that turn. But that is also committing crime, and the deck has synergies with committing crimes. We've talked about some of them. What else is there? How are we doing on time here? Not bad, not bad. I feel like we got through a lot there. we've got other kind of more or less one card. Well, I was talking about rituals, wasn't I? Bubbling Muck, Dark Ritual, and Rain of Filth. Yeah, so we can go off fast. You know, the Rain of Filth does kind of the same thing as Bubbling Muck, and you can actually add them to each other. You can cast your Bubbling Muck, and now all of your swamps tap for 2 mana. Then you can sacrifice them all and get a 3rd mana out of them. So we're not going to be hurting for mana in the deck. We've got lots and lots of tutors in the deck. Some of them will have you sacrificing creatures like Diabolic Intent or the Case of the Missing Skeleton. So while we're sacrificing creatures, we might as well get value by sacrificing our skeleton to the Deadly Dispute. Draw 2 cards, make a treasure. Or maybe we sacrifice our Blood-Soaked Champion every turn. Or we sacrifice our Shambling Ghast to draw 2 cards and make a treasure. And we've got a Blood Artist in play, and we've got a Midnight Reaper in play. So we've got some like Aristocrats type payoffs in the deck too. And Karavak's nasty. Like, this is a very good card. If you're aristocraty and you're creating Blood Artist triggers, and that's gonna allow you to just rape your opponent's hands, right? Then you can do that. You can Inquisition, and that commits a crime, and now you can cast your, since you committed a crime, you can cast your Fatal Push, and that commits a crime, and so you can cast your whatever, and keep Lethal Schemes. And the Lethal Schemes, maybe you're able to cast that for free because you've got 4 creatures in play. You tap those 4 creatures because it's got Convoke. But not only does it have Convoke, but it also says that the creatures that convoke it connive. So if you tap 4 creatures, you convoke 4 creatures, cast this for free, destroy target creature. You're going to draw 4 cards and discard 4 cards. And when you discard cards, there's a good chance you're going to put more nasty stuff to do in your graveyard. Whether that be reanimating a Hoarding Broodlord, or whether it be fueling your Karavak the Merciless. So that's I think that's the deck. That's what we're doing. We are tutoring and we're reanimating, and we can just be a straight up reanimation deck too. We don't necessarily need to use our commander. We don't have a tremendous amount of reanimation effects in the deck because we do have one in the command zone. But we've got the good ones. We've got the 1 mana reanimate. We've got the 2 mana animate dead. We've got the one that can do 2 creatures because that can be important depending on how things play out for you. So yeah, the deck turns out to be formidable. I think it's just a lot better than I would have ever suspected. Should we look at some hands? So we could do some Goldfishing, or we could just kind of like do some starting hands. Or should I explain more things, guys? Tell me, talk to me. Why can't you talk to me? I can't read your mind, people. You have to tell me what you're feeling inside. Grim Servant is easy way to crew the vehicle that is also a tutor. That is also a body for us to sacrifice for any of our many sacrifice effects. Nashi, Dothy Voidwalker. Speaking of, creatures that are big enough to crew the vehicle, and also sacrifice effects. Because here, if we've got like any number of our aristocrat payoffs in play, we can crack the Dothy Voidwalker, cast the most powerful thing with a void token on it, a void counter. If you're not familiar, if you're a strict budget player, maybe you're not familiar, this hasn't always been $4.80. But it's black, and it says if a card, and it's a 3/2 shadow, says if a card would be put into an opponent's graveyard from anywhere, exile it instead and put a void counter on it. Then that would be enough, right? It's like it's a hate bearer. It shuts off your opponent's graveyard strategies. But it also says that any of those things that get exiled because of it get a void counter on them, and you can tap the Dauthi Voidwalker, sacrifice it, and you can cast whatever spell you want that got exiled by the Dauthi Voidwalker. I should say by a Dauthi Voidwalker. Because the Voidwalker tokens or counters stay on it. And you don't have to pay for it. Like this doesn't allow you to cast it. It casts it. You may play it this turn without paying its mana cost. Cynical Loner is my favorite card in this deck for exactly what the deck is trying to do. This says at the beginning of your second main phase, if it's tapped, you can search your library for a card, put it in your graveyard. Well, if you crew the vehicle with it, it will be tapped, right? Yeah, let's do some hands. Let's look at some hands anyway. Shit. Alright. What is this? Fatal Push. That's another kind of a weaker payoff for sacrificing things. Fatal Push is a really good removal spell, but it only destroys target creature that has CMC 2 or less, except if you've had a creature die. I think that's how it reads. If a permanent you controlled left the battlefield this turn, then you can hit basically anything up to 4 mana value. Would we keep this hand? We don't have... Yeah, I think we would keep this hand. The only thing we don't have is... No, yeah, we've got it. We've got just about everything. It's a little bit slower, but it's not bad. So we draw a card for turn. We're going to be... When I say slower, it's like we're just kind of skipping turn 1. But who knows? Maybe somebody did something super impactful on turn 1, and they ritualed out some nasty commander, and we get to Fatal Push it to death on turn 1. That's possible. But most likely, we'll just go to a turn 2, never having done anything. On turn 2, we will make a skeleton. So we'll cast the case and add a token. Note a token that is able to crew our vehicle and be sacrificed for value. Turn 3, we're going to go 1, 2, 3. Play our commander, go to turn 4. Do the thing. Now, I already explained this. You guys want to see it too? Jeez. Okay, so this just turned out to the kind of normal, turned out to be the sort of normal run-of-the-mill way the deck works. We'd probably start off by casting a Bubbling Muck. So now we've got 6 mana available. Because why not? Don't think we need it, but why not? We've got the Reanimate in hand already. So, yeah, maybe we could skip some steps, or maybe I'll just show you the kind of standard traditional way that we do the thing. So, we are going to go to combat. We're going to crew our vehicle, go to combat. Oh, I didn't find an Entomb. That's what I was missing. Rewind. Shit. That changes things a bit. Okay. Well, damn it. I don't know. Maybe I could have done stuff differently. Well, we're here now. Wait, we've got a line. Okay, we do cast the Bubbling Muck. That gives us 6 mana. Is this gonna work? Is this gonna work, Navanad? 6 mana. For 6 mana, we'll do this. We'll go 6 mana. We'll pay 3 to transmute Demure Machinations. We're gonna find a 3-drop, and the 3-drop is going to be Buried Alive. I know this isn't the way that we wrote it up. This isn't the way I explained it, but there's lots of synergy in the deck. This is going to be a deck that will definitely reward player skill and sticking with the deck and learning it. We're going to use the 3 mana we have floating because we cast Bubbling Muck. So then these 3 tap for 6. We used 3 of it to find the Buried Alive with the Dimir Machinations. Now we're going to use the other 3 to cast the Buried Alive. And the things we're going to bury... Boy, this is getting weird. How do we want to do this? I see multiple lines. We could do the victimized thing because we'll have 2 creatures in play. I mean, in the graveyard. We'll have a creature that we want to sacrifice in play. Either way, let's just do this. I'm going to do the simplest thing and the thing that actually uses... I'm going to do the thing that uses the commander. Okay, so our Buried Alive pile this time is going to be Asmodeus goes into the bin. And Necrotic Ooze goes into the bin. And Scourge Familiar goes into the bin. Alright. Then we're going to tap the skeleton to crew the ship. We're going to hit somebody with the ship. We're going to sacrifice this commander, put it back in the command zone at least the first time. And we're going to reanimate Necrotic Ooze. So our commander is getting sacrificed to put the Necrotic Ooze in play. Necrotic Ooze has all activated abilities of all creatures in all graveyards. Here's 2 of them. So we have the discard a card to add a black, and the pay 3 black to draw 7 cards. Those abilities are now on our Necrotic Ooze. So we will discard a card, add a black. Discard a card, add a black. Discard a card, add a black. Alright, so we've got 3 black mana. We're going to use that black mana to draw 7 cards with Asmodeus, with the Asmodeus ability on Necrotic Ooze. With Necrotic Modius. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oops, I drew 1 too many cards. Alright, and we're going to do that again. So we're going to discard 3 cards. And we're going to draw 7 cards. This is fun. And we're going to do that over and over and over. And then we are going to either assemble our win with... well, what we could do is we can just cast the Funeral Charm, ping everybody, use the Elixir of Immortality, shuffle, do all the things I explained the first time. But most of the time, I think what you're going to do is you're just going to keep going through this loop until you draw into all of the pieces that you need to win the game with either the Forsaken, some version of Forsaken Miner and Warren Soul Trader, and Blood Artist. Alright, so we've discarded a bunch of cards, we've drawn a bunch, and now we're going to discard a bunch of cards to add a bunch of mana. 4 mana, and 5 mana, and 6 mana. 3, 4, 5, 6. And now we are going to use the Warren Soul Trader to sacrifice the Forsaken Miner. And that's going to make a treasure token, and it's going to ping us for 1. But the Blood Artist is going to see that a creature died, and we're going to ping target opponent. And when we ping target opponent, we also gain a life, offsetting the life loss from the Warren Soul Trader. Now we've committed a crime by pinging somebody with Blood Artist, so we can pay a black mana, which we'll use this treasure token to do, to put this back into play. And then we're going to sacrifice it to the Warren Soul Trader, making a treasure, pinging somebody with Blood Artist, making, sacking, gaining, burning, winning the game. So that kind of showed everything the deck's trying to do, and at the normal speed, turn 4. Alright guys, that's going to do it. I'm pretty well spent. My brain is done working. My thinker's done thinking, and my talker's done talking. This would probably not be a keep. We go to a second 7. This looks fine. In fact, this looks fantastic. Yeah, this would be great. We would for sure keep this. We'd rather the reanimate were an entomb or unmarked grave, but yeah, we're missing one piece. We'll find it. I mean, if not, we've got final parting, so we'll get there eventually. I mean, this will for sure get there by turn 4. Wow. For sure by turn 5. Well, nothing is for sure. I guess we could draw 0 mana. But it's a good hand. I think it probably wins on turn 4. It could win on turn 3. And it might win on turn 5. Yeah, that's it. Until next time, guys. Word to your mothers. Word to your brothers. Word to your sisters. Word to yourself. If you haven't worded yourself in a long time, I recommend you do that. Because I find that myself, my battery runs a little bit low if I don't word myself. So word yourself. And word to your mother and to yourself. And word to yourself, but let your mother know that you worded yourself. Your mother worries about you. And she's going to want to know that you worded to her because it'll make her feel good. You know, it'll just put a little smile on her heart, if you know what I mean. But also, her knowing that you're wording yourself will make her feel like you're taking care of yourself. And if you're not going to take care of yourself, no one else is gonna. Namaste, nerds.